West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
.6:01 a.m. on this Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Lot to talk about today. Joe Naguse, Michael Bennett, coming to the defense of Kyle Clark. Must save the mouthpiece for the Dems here against a possible merger that's taking place. We'll cover that. Kelly Caulfield's going to be joining us, Executive Director of the Common Sense Institute, on a new program they've got coming up regarding education and the economy. Danielle Jurinsky will be joining us in the 8 o'clock hour as there's been some changes in policing in Aurora. What's the impact been? This is fascinating. Because if you remember, they had a no pursuit policy in place. They've changed that, and the consequences are fascinating. We'll get into that with Danielle Jurinsky in the 8 o'clock hour. 9 o'clock hour, Becky Tassone. Brother, I went down a rabbit hole of a airline crash that I had never, ever even heard about.
Yeah, I'd heard about it, but not
629.
No details, yeah.
United Airlines Flight 629, November 1st, 1955, takes off from Stapleton Airport, crashes as the result of a dynamite bomb being placed in the checked luggage. This was one of the first major bomb explosions that took place in airliners, changed the entire industry as a result of it. John Gilbert Graham. And then I came in, and Crowley here comes over and says he wouldn't be here because his father was the reservist pilot, which means if any one of those pilots had called in sick, then it would have been Crowley's dad that was the pilot, and Crowley wasn't born until 57.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dude, wild.
Oh, I know. It's crazy.
And this was a son whose mom had basically been widowed and had him, couldn't afford to take care of him, so puts him in an orphanage. She then marries a wealthy rancher, starts a restaurant, very successful restaurant, and never goes to get him back.
Yeah.
So they have this like broken relationship, and he ends up being a total mess, ends up with fraud charges, all that stuff. But he's the one that puts the dynamite in the luggage that kills not only his mom, but 43 other people, a total of 44 people from 80-year-old down to 13-month killed in this airline crash. This bombing, this guy has no remorse whatsoever, goes to the gas chamber in Colorado. I had never heard of this. Anyways, there's a memorial they're building because of people like me.
Yeah, nobody's ever heard of it.
I didn't know about it. And I grew up here in Colorado. So Becky Tassone's going to join us in the 9 o'clock hour, which would be great. So fascinating show today. All ladies that we're interviewing. So you're not going to want to miss this. Now it's time, though, for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good Tuesday morning, 31 and clear outside. Expecting a high of 49 today. News is sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. And a good idea right now is you can just feel the temperature dropping. Our top story, a suspect has died after a robbery attempt at the Maverick gas station in the 3200 block of South Parker Road. It happened last night. just before 9 o'clock. An armed suspect was locked inside the store with two employees. Officers forced their way into the store after hearing gunshots. They exchanged gunfire with the suspect, who died after being taken to the hospital. A Denver police officer was shot in the leg, and two gas station employees also wounded. The State Patrol and the CBI will lead the investigation. World Series last night. Game 3, bottom of the 18th, tied at 5. Freddie Freeman at the plate.
In Los Angeles, Freeman sends a fly ball to center field. Varsho's going back before the clock strikes midnight. Freddie Freeman has ended it. It's a repeat hero with the last word on a Game 3 classic.
A freaking walk-off home run in the bottom of the 18th inning. It was 6 hours, 39 minutes. Dodgers lead the series 2-1 back in 2018. You may remember the Dodgers and the Red Sox go 7 hours, maybe 50 minutes, something like that. So it was right up there with one of the longest games in World Series history.
Democrats are actually the reason why the government is being shut down. Is shut down. They're the ones who has voted no 10 plus times to get the government open back up. SNAP benefits, they voted no.
The Schumer shutdown continues. Funding for food assistance is set to run out Saturday, affecting over 40 million Americans, as we talked about on Monday. Don't put it past the Democrats. That is probably their goal. One of their goals: create more chaos, rioting, and looting inside the stores, outside the stores. Republicans say open the government and we can talk about all the garbage that the majority of Americans did not vote for.
Paying essential workers, they voted no. The Republicans are bringing these bills to pass to pay these things and fund these programs. The Democrats are voting no. Why? To use it as leverage. They want y'all to say it's Trump's fault. That's what they want, to divert.
Yep, absolutely. And that's an influencer who's educating millions of people out there, or at least hundreds of thousands. DJT continues his week-long visit to Asia, stopping in Japan to address U.S. troops aboard the USS George Washington.
And I was just told by the Prime Minister that Toyota is going to be putting auto plants all over the United States to the tune of over $10 billion. So that's Toyota. So go out and buy a Toyota.
He praised record military spending and promised a pay raise for all service members. Once again, 47 also met with Japan's new prime minister to discuss security and trade.
And it's a great honor to be with you, especially so early in what will be, I think, one of the greatest prime ministers. I think you will be one of the great. Everything I know from Shinzo and others, you will be one of the great prime ministers. I'd also like to congratulate you on being the first woman prime minister. That's a big deal. That's a big deal, and I want to congratulate you on that. I think that has to be called out. And you're going to do a fantastic job, and we're going to have a fantastic relationship. Thank you very much.
White Democrat women hate that. DJT heads to South Korea for talks with Chinese President Xi, while saying he's open to a meeting with North Korea's Kim Jong-un before heading home. The NBA is launching a full review of the betting-related issues following the gambling scandal involving Denver's own Chauncey Billups. Well, that's good that they're going to look into that. They are so wise. Wow. Amazon announcing the layoffs of nearly 30,000 corporate workers starting today. The jobs represent nearly 10% of the company's corporate workforce. Blake Neff, Charlie Kirk's producer, discussing the Mikey McCoy viral video showing him walking away from his friend Charlie seconds, maybe a second after the assassination.
So I and him both had the reaction of, let's get out of here before we were both shot. That is not us abandoning Charlie. Charlie had a security team. They all leapt immediately into action, and they got Charlie out of there, which was what their job was to do. My job was not to get in the way and screw this up because, like, I had to be a hero. That was not my job. I remember even running past, both of us going past the SUV that we came in on, and me thinking, should I get in that car? And then thinking, no, that's a really stupid thing to do. And then I kept going. So I was not with Mikey, or I don't remember being with him. I think I was ahead of him as we left. And then we get out, and I run for, can't have been more than 15 or 20 seconds. And then I realized there hasn't been another shot, so the shooter has likely been detained or stopped or something.
So he defends Mikey. There are a lot of questions, a lot. And 3,000 witnesses, and God only knows all the video we haven't seen, including the video from the camera behind Charlie that was taken down after the shooting, the assassination, which was part of a crime scene. Stay tuned. There are a lot of things there that we're going to be talking about, I'm sure. Or maybe not. The Chiefs beat the Commanders 28-7 last night. Kansas City is now 5-3. Chasing the Broncos in the AFC West, the Broncos in Houston Sunday. 30 in
By the way,
Moultrie.
did you see the Washington Chiefs, or not the Washington
Commanders.
Chiefs, the Washington Commanders, when they sacked Mahomes? And
I didn't see that.
And the ref is like blowing the whistle, and and the defender just doesn't care and takes Mahomes and just throws him to the ground. And of course, there's a flag and all this stuff. But you can tell the guy's like, "Oh, I get my shot here. I'm getting my shot here. We're going all the way."
So it was a penalty on the Commanders.
Yeah, penalty on the Commanders. But you know how they treat Mahomes. Like, you get even close to him, and they blow the play dead.
Right, I see what you're saying, yeah. They protect him.
No, don't touch him. Don't touch him. And this guy just is like, oh, yeah, I'm this close. You could hear the whistles blow. He just takes Mahomes and just slams him down on the ground.
I got to see that.
I think they've had enough of this kind of, protect the guy at all costs type of thing.
But you know what, Jeff? All NFL quarterbacks are self-protected.
I get it. But it was just kind of funny to watch.
It doesn't even look like football to a lot
it
of
was
us.
just funny to watch the defender not care. He's like, I'm going to take whatever fine I have or whatever because
take the penalty. Right. 15 yards. Who cares? Was it early in the game?
No,
maybe
fourth quarter.
Was it?
Third or fourth quarter.
Okay.
Like that.
I got to go back and look at that. He just didn't get it. They were trailing, obviously.
Yep. Doesn't care. Sit down, Mahomes.
I know. I hear you. That's so funny. If he played for the Broncos, you would love him.
True
You're
story.
so funny, man.
True story.
How dare they try to do that to Mahomes?
Do you know how important he is to it?
Exactly. All right, Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 7:10 5-day forecast, a cold start to our Tuesday. Clear skies, morning temperatures upper 20s. Winds are going to remain northerly. Therefore, despite sunny skies Tuesday, going to be cooler. Highs middle and upper 40s, back in the mid-20s and clear Tuesday night. Wednesday through Friday, sunny and dry. Highs middle and upper 50s. Clear nights through the end of the work week and lows low and mid-30s. Getting warmer this upcoming weekend. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Nexstar is in the process of acquiring Tigna. What a world we live in when that is a state. What? It used to just be like NBC.
Yeah.
It's now acquiring ABC or whatever. Nexstar is in the process of acquiring Tigna for a $6.2 billion cash deal, pending shareholder and regulatory approval. But this has big impact on Colorado. Fox 31, are they owned by Nexstar right now?
Yeah, Fox 31 and Channel 2.
Okay, owned by...
They own both of those. And this would be a third signal they would control in town.
Okay.
Out of how many broadcast signals?
How many?
6.
6.
They'd have 50% of voice. If
But
not
do you
more.
watch,
No more. Actually,
do you watch
actually
broadcast
5.
news that much?
They would have 5 of the 6. Is what they would have. No, they'd have 5. They have 3 of the 5 because they're 5.
Yeah.
They would only leave NBC and AB.
And that would be
4 and
channels 7
4
and
7.
4.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 and 7. Everything else would be owned by one voice.
And this gets complicated because why have 2 stations owned by the same person, right? You're paying...
Well, I have 3.
Or 3, yeah, right. You're paying a lot of people in one market when you could just narrow it down and... But would you want to keep them all?
Why have 3 TV? That depends on revenue, and that's why they have 2 and 31 as they look at differing revenue.
People watch too,
but some do. Otherwise, they would turn it off. But the issue being, is if you own 3 of the sticks in town, do you need all 3? You just turn them off.
Yeah.
Which again, but the idea is that remember, a broadcast license is not the same as just having your own podcast or having your own YouTube's channel or anything else, because you have to get the permission of the federal government. And the federal government allocates those based on the needs of the community. And I would have a difficult time arguing in favor of one broadcaster holding 3 of the 5 outlets inside of any community that best serves what you're looking for, regardless of where you are. That seems odd. But, we've all known how well consolidation is done for Denver radio. That's great, isn't it? That's been fantastic.
But here's the question I have. Have you heard of political leaders getting into the fray regarding radio consolidation?
Oh, there was some back in the day.
I don't remember any
back in the
really
day.
Jumping in and particularly seeking to defend one.
Through 80s and 90s, there was, when the consolidation move was happening. Absolutely. In fact, weirdly enough, there were even some Republicans that were like the idea of this hurts competition and choice, because this was under the Clinton era, is when the deregulation happened. So, there were voices back then. And in my mind, some of them proved correct. Some of the doomsaying that they said was going to happen absolutely has happened. So, But now, again, broadcast TV is in some ways perishing.
In some ways. Here's a 2018 headline from Westward: the incredible shrinking Denver TV news audience.
Oh, yeah.
That was 5 years ago. I can't... I've maybe watched one broadcast news, which is only 35 minutes, in the last year. I think it was just like powering through at Channel 4. And you might keep it on after watching sports, but that entire market is changing so fast. But I found it unique that, man, Democrats are really interested in making sure Kyle Clark continues to have a job. Here's Kyle Clark and Joe Neguse. Joe Neguse posted this audio yesterday, I believe.
2 Democrats from Colorado's congressional delegation are asking the Trump administration to reject a mega media merger that would put the parent company of Fox 31 in charge of 9 News. Congressman Joe Neguse and Senator Michael Bennet wrote to the FCC that this deal would have, quote, devastating consequences for Colorado. Neguse and Bennet are asking the FCC to reject the acquisition of Tegna, the parent company of 9 News, by Nexstar, the owner of Fox 31, Channel 2, that also happens to be the largest owner of TV stations in America. If approved, this combined company would be able to reach more than 80% of TV households in America, and that is double the current limit allowed under federal law. Neguse and Bennet say the current cap, among other things, retains journalism jobs. They wrote that, quote, without it, our media coverage will become more nationalized and local coverage will decrease. Bennett and Neguse also raised concern that the Trump administration is using the FCC approval process as a tool to exert political pressure on broadcasters. Last month, the FCC chair threatened regulatory action against ABC over comments made by late-night host Jimmy Kimmel. Nexstar then pulled Kimmel's show off its stations, drawing praise from the head of the FCC.
So concerns that this company Nexstar that's right-leaning is now going to have all this control over all these stations, and, well, Kyle Clark's not going to have a job anymore. Do you think that Michael Bennett and Joe Neguse would be out there seeking to defend Colorado and local journalism if it was going the other direction? For instance, if the maybe more progressive station was taking over conservative stations? I don't think so. Bill, your thoughts?
I don't know. It's for me. It's I push back on share of voice. Is the idea that if we had fewer outlets, that somehow things get better based on what you're going to get on news coverage. When more than 50% of the share of voice is owned by one broadcaster in town, I'm not certain if it was a liberal broadcaster that everybody listening to the Jeff and Bill show would be super happy and go, oh my gosh,
right,
look, this liberal owner now has, 3 out of the 5 stations. What's going on here in town? That's the idea. And I think
would you hear from Joe Neguse and Michael Bennett that this is a threat to Colorado?
You would hear from our lawmakers, they just would be of the other party.
Right.
That's it. So
that's the point.
Yeah.
They're not here to protect Colorado and independent journalism. It's just partisan hackery, which I find fascinating because it just proves what a lot of people have been saying about Kyle Clark all along and Channel 9 is that they're just a partisan outlet.
The thing is, I don't necessarily believe that it's partisan hackery. I do believe it's partisan, but I do believe also that the concern is valid. I think it's a valid concern. I just think that who's concerned about it sees it through a partisan viewpoint. I view partisan hackery as something that I'm just outraged because of X, whatever that is. And the example that I would put on the table right now would be James Comer and his what I view as partisan hackery about his investigation into Biden's auto pen. That is 100% partisan hackery in my mind, because Congress and the DOJ has no control nor purview over the president's pardon power. There is no remedy contained therein unless Coomer and his friends want to get back in session and pass a law. Until then, what that investigation does is nothing. They can't affect any change based on that investigation. That, to me, is partisan hackery. An investigation that has no appreciable way of finding any sort of an outcome. Can't change a damn thing, but we're going to investigate it, so okie dokie. That, to me, is partisan hackery. This, to me, is just playing, just being a partisan. The idea that you're only upset about what's going on as far as Channel 9 and 9 News. And again, I still push back on this idea that the mainstream media, ABC, NBC, CBS, is this total bastion of liberal thought, given that their broadcast day isn't nearly devoted to news and commentary like CNN and Fox News and others are. Their portion of their broadcast day on politics and news is fairly limited. So the idea that we point at these outlets as being so biased and untoward, when we know Fox News and CNN are much more biased and much more involved in playing sides.
But I think they're open about it, right? I mean, everybody knows that Fox is conservative.
We report you decide?
Yeah, but I mean, do you think Fox is hiding the fact they're conservative?
I think they're hiding the fact that they're trying to report news objectively, and I would say the same thing about CNN. They are both hiding the fact that they are trying to give the appearance of reporting news objectively.
And you don't think ABC and NBC and CBS do the same thing?
I believe that they are more objective than the other two. Yeah. Oh, yeah. As top to bottom. Yeah.
No, they're completely progressive dominated.
No.
From the makeup of their news stations to, I mean, gosh, how many MRC reports do you have to do about the coverage where it's like 95% of Donald Trump's coverage on CBS is negative?
Hold on.
They do this stuff all the time. It's like every week MRC comes out with these reports about the big three and how their coverage of the stations is completely biased, and then the makeup of their news offices are biased. How all their donations tend to be biased.
Donations? Wait.
Yeah.
But what do you mean by donations?
From the people that work in their news.
I don't care about that. And here's the reason why.
Why?
And the reason that I disagree with the idea that because the makeup of a newsroom necessitates bias is because then you're telling me that no one out there that is supposed to be a journalist has the ability to be objective. And I fundamentally disagree with that. Because that's the truism that you're starting with. You're starting with the idea that if you're a Democrat in the newsroom, you're obviously then going to report liberal news. If you're a Republican in the newsroom, you're obviously going to report conservative news. I disagree. An actual journalist
where do you
is
see
objective.
That?
An actual journalist is objective.
Who's the most objective journalist?
I don't know. I didn't know I was going to have that on a list today.
Yeah,
so I'd have to do some
I'm just
research.
wondering. I mean,
I'd have to do some research.
Is somebody that jumps out to you?
The most objective outlet is Ground News, in my opinion, out there. That is the most objective.
Yeah, but that's not any of the big three.
Again, I know,
that stuff.
I know, but I'm just talking about what is the most objective. I would say though that ABC, NBC, CBS, based on what I see, is more objective than CNN and Fox News. And what I mean by that is I'm not saying there's no bias. I'm saying there's less bias contained inside. And meaning less bias does make them more objective on a gradient scale. I'm not saying they're pure, but I'm saying on a scale, Fox News far outweighs the tilt towards conservatism in their news delivery than ABC, NBC, CBS does in a tilt towards liberalism, by far on the scale. And that is
what's
fair
your
and
evidence of that? Is that just a sense?
No, almost every single objective report on where they fall in a political spectrum,
right.
Fox News is more right than ABC, CBS, NBC is left, based on their reporting. So if the mean line is here and someone is 5 or 10 degrees to the left and the other person is 15 to 20 degrees to the right, more objectivity lies in that people to the left. Simply because where they are from the middle.
Do you see that flaw in that reasoning?
Okay,
now?
What is the flaw?
The flaw in that reasoning is because Fox is so objectively conservative, even if ABC, NBC, and CBS lean to the left, so far as they don't lean as left as Fox is right, they're not as partisan.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah, and that's a flaw in logic.
No, it's not.
Yeah, of course it is.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
Hang on a sec.
You're taking Fox as the anchor point, and then you compare ABC, NBC, and CBS to them.
No, you've misunderstood my point.
And then you say because it's not as conservative or as progressive as they are conservative, they're not as partisan.
I will take a second shot at this, and you've misinterpreted my words. Okay. I will try this a second time.
Sure.
I am starting at point 0, which is absolute objectivity. And what I'm saying is, based on the continuum from 0, Fox News is more to the right than ABC, NBC, CBS is to the left. And so, based on that scale, ABC, CBS, NBC would provide more core objectivity than the other one that is further away from ground 0. That's the point. I am starting at point 0.
I know, but you're still using Fox as the anchor point.
No, I'm using 0 as the anchor point.
Oh, you're using Fox.
Hang on a sec. Hang on. No, I'm using 0. And what I'm saying is the degrees from 0 shows a lack of objectivity. Regardless in what direction you're going, the stations that are further from 0 have less objectivity. Full stop.
Right.
And then you can evaluate the stations based on who is further away from ground 0, not from Fox News.
And you can still say, as a result of that ABC, CBS, and NBC are progressive in their coverage.
Yes, and I have been open and honest about that.
That's what I said at the very beginning.
But they are more objective than other stations and outlets. In most cases, yes. Based on the gradient scale, yes. That is true.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Oh, I understand you agree with it, but that's not what the empirical evidence shows. And you can disagree with that.
I think there's a lot
People
of evidence.
disagree with the idea of Earth being flat.
Media Research Center comes out almost weekly with their analysis of the coverage, and it's overwhelmingly progressive. And I think
by overwhelmingly, what do you mean?
Like 98% of coverage of Donald Trump is negative from ABC, CBS, NBC. Meanwhile, coverage of Mondami, for instance, is 5% negative. I mean, it's wildly progressive. And what I think the frustration that most conservatives have had about the big three is that we all grew up during a time, particularly like with Channel 9 as well, where it was the gold standard of journalism. And they've been taken over by progressives throughout the newsrooms. That's been demonstrated by voter registration analysis. It's been demonstrated by who they give to, and it's been demonstrated by their coverage. And so you claim objectivity when you clearly are not objective. That becomes the point of frustration to where I would say it's fraudulent. You're not news. You're mostly commentary. We here, I think, are very honest about where we stand. I'm conservative. I want Republicans to win and Democrats to lose. Blake Olson, news and comment. We cover it there. So the situation that's on the ground taking place with these stations is that they claim to be objective when they're not. They claim to be news when they're not. And people don't trust them. Gallup shows that over and over again, that trust in the news is at near historic lows, if not at historic lows. So, all right, feel free to join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Let's talk Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who've been hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS Law.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Nobody trusts the media anymore. They're at nearly historic lows. But Joe Neguse, Michael Bennett working hard to try to stop a merger that would take place between Tigna and Nexstar. My proposition is that the reason they're doing it is to protect Kyle Clark's job, because Kyle Clark and 9 News serve as the primary mouthpiece for advancing a progressive political agenda in Colorado. And what they're claiming is that this is about options. This is about local journalism. No. Joe Neguse and Michael Bennett would not be involved in it. It is about protecting the voice they need in order to continue to advance their political agenda. What do you think? Give us a call. Let's go to the phone lines. Mary in Wyoming. Good morning, Mary. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hi, good morning, guys. I have been, Billy, you know I have been sending you MSN News. What happened, my computer went down, I replaced it, so when it comes up, it automatically comes up with MSN. And in doing that, it was the first time I realized how negative the news is on him. And not only then, they twist what they have. An example, I'm just looking at it right now. The headline, I don't like a few of you all at all. Trump hits rock bottom in diplomacy, antagonizes former leaders. And if you go into the story, they took something that was said and twisted it. And it's consistent. They're really big about on his that he has dementia. Always about the medical. There's always 3 or 4 of those headlines. And it's not just Trump. It's his cabinet. They say nothing good about anything that the cabinet does.
Okay,
so
but MSN is different in my mind than ABC, NBC, CBS, which are the more mainstream broadcast. And I think that if we picked up and said MSN and replaced Trump with Biden, we could just say the same thing about outlets like Breitbart, Gateway Pundit, Newsmax, OAN, Fox News, correct? Because we all heard a steady march of Joe Biden and not being fit for the job and mental incapacity going into the election.
He wasn't.
But it started a lot further, a lot before that. There were times before that. In fact, there were things that happened on Fox News, MSN, Gateway Pundit, not that talked about how Biden pooped his pants at a certain event. No actual proof of that ever existed, but that was posited on those outlets. So, what I'm hearing, Mary, what I'm hearing is I'm just hearing that you're upset about the bias you disagree with. That as long as it is in favor of what you're saying, then you're fine. Okay, then what do you mean by then?
That's not. I'm looking at just articles. In other words, Daily Mail is a liberal newspaper. It's from England, but it's liberal. It's the only one that I pretty much get my news from now. I don't look at even Fox. I'm not interested in Trump being constantly patted on the back. What I'm looking for is the news, what is really going on. So I find out the Daily Mail, at least they will report.
Yeah, the Daily Mail does deeper dives as far as solid reporting. They do have a liberal bias, but their reporting is solid. I would agree with you.
That's my point, and that's why I get my news from them. So my point is that, no, I'm not looking at only positive things on Trump. I want to know what's really going on.
Yeah,
and I'm just saying,
in this conversation,
so when you read something like MSN, all you see is that he's demented. His staff, anything that they post, and it is wrong, etc. If I'm a liberal, and I'm seeing that, I can understand why they think Trump is a jerk. I mean, that's all it is negative, negative, negative. And if that's where you're getting your news source.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Mary.
You will not have anything positive.
I will tell you that you, at least, and I say that intellectually we're honest enough in this to say that even though you were getting information from what you accurately describe as a more liberal outlet, their news reporting is solid. So even though it came from an outlet that has a bias, they at least were telling the facts. And that's kind of my point in this entire conversation, is how far that bias goes. and that once we get further away from that point zero, the bias is increasing. And so something that is further away from zero, like a Breitbart, than something like an ABC, doesn't mean that ABC is this dyed-in-the-wool liberal outlet. It just means on the continuum, Breitbart is less objective than ABC is. That's it.
But do you think that Joe Neguse and Michael Bennett would be using the power of their office to seek to stop a merger that would affect this show and claim that we're important to the reporting here in Colorado, local journalism, or Channel 4 or Channel 7? I don't think so. I don't think you'd hear a peep from them.
I think if it was 4 or 7, yes. Us, no. I think that we're different. We are so politically biased that's a little bit different. However, I would say that because I see a politician going out there and saying it makes me question everything else afterwards, just in general, because they're doing it for a reason. Yeah,
that's the point. They're doing it for a reason. And what's the reason for saving Kyle Clark and Channel 9, Mary?
Good question.
Oh, it's to save the progressive mouthpiece. That's why they're doing it.
But if it is, then why would it matter? Because basically, if the station came in and took over, the only thing they would reasonably be able to spike would be local. They would still hold the NBC contract, and so they couldn't turn off NBC News per se. So they would still run that what you say very liberal outlet of NBC News. They would still run it. So the only thing that would necessarily change would be Channel 9's local news coverage. That would be it. Yeah. Okay.
My concern was that it is so biased. I mean, and I'm sorry, you're right, it is digital being MSN. However, most people now are on their computers, and that's how they're in most cases, how they're getting their news. And all I'm saying is that is so left field and so negative. I mean, please, anyone go in and look at that. It is constant drumbeat of how Trump doesn't do anything right.
Right.
He's incompetent.
Yeah, MSN and MSNBC. CNBC is a little bit, because that's the business arm, they're a little more towards the center than MSN and MSNBC is. But they're as far to the left in my mind as something like a Newsmax or a Daily Wire is on the right side, is where I see MSN and MSNBC on the continuum.
Mary, appreciate the call.
Thanks
so much. Mary's line will be open, 303-696-1971. We got You Choose the News coming up. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's that time of the morning to get you up and going with Bills. You choose the news.
Yes, it's that time of the morning where we get to make questionable decisions because those in charge have not arisen yet. Once Jeff and I found out that we are left unsupervised until 7 a.m., yes, that's why we play America's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News, with you at 6:50 in the morning here on 710 KNUS. You know how this works. I browse the interwebs for really silly stories about us humans, give them more ridiculous headlines so that we can have a little bit of fun this early in the morning. As always, Blake Olson joins us from the news department. Gentlemen, here are our choices this morning. Headline number 1, official research. Headline number 2, plundering the booty. Headline number 3, visual aid. And headline number 4, no, wrong number. This is 912. Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
Let's start with plundering the booty.
Yes, here we are going to go plundering the booty. We find ourselves in New Jersey for this one. Recently, a New Jersey woman has pled guilty to torching a man's home at 4 a.m. in the morning because he stood her up on a booty call. Yeah, can't do that. In a court hearing that happened, 35-year-old Taja Russell copped to aggravated arson and a second-degree felony. In the plea deal, prosecutors have agreed to recommend an 8-year prison term rather than a longer one. As was detailed in the court records, Russell had traveled to Woodbury to the home of victim Curtis Stokes, who told the cops he invited the defendant to his residence to have some of the funky funk time. Yes, they were going to make the frenzied creature with two backs. The pair's pre-dawn communication had consisted of Russell texting Stokes, hello, to which he romantically responded, bring your ass. Yes, I tell you, kids these days, they know how to flirt. Alrighty. Now, by the time Russell had arrived, though, Stokes had fallen asleep and did not respond to her at the door because obviously she brought that ass. Now, Russell had sent a text complaining that, you want my money? Yeah, you wasted my money and my time. Sorry, you don't want my money. You wasted my money and my time. Come on out here. Receiving no reply, Russell then texted a series of threats, including, you smoked. I just want to see you die. I swear to God, I hope you die. She then went to a local Conoco gas station, purchased lighter fluid, matches, and a cigarette lighter, returning to the home and set a fire on the outside of the entrance. Stokes told police he awoke to the smell of smoke, was unable to leave via the door, and had to escape through a window wearing only a T-shirt and pretty much nothing else. Ran nearby to police headquarters and reported the blaze. Yes. So, again.
Wow.
Yeah. I know.
People
exactly.
are crazy.
I know. It's, but and kids these days, the flirting, it's so cute. Yes, exactly. Alrighty. Now, Blake,
Exactly.
yes, your choice, sir.
Shakespeare would be proud.
So proud. Blake, official research.
Romeo,
yes. Bring your ass. Yo, Juliet. Alrighty. Official research, visual aid, or no wrong number. This is 912. Your choice,
Let's
Blake.
go with the 912.
Yes, no wrong number. This is 912. One of my favorite quotes from Chief Wiggum here on Simpsons, and it kind of applies here. See, a Franklin Township police sergeant has been charged with misconduct after prosecutors say he did not quickly respond and properly investigate reports of a shooting that turned out to be a double murder. Instead, he swung by an ATM and had a delicious pizza. Yes.
Oh.
The police sergeant, Kevin Bolero, was the on-duty officer when police received a 911 call reporting gunshots and screaming in Pittstown. However, rather than responding immediately, prosecutors say GPS data and surveillance video showed that he drove in the opposite direction for a couple of miles to an ATM to withdraw money. By then, dispatchers relayed other calls from concerned neighbors about, a shooting. Well, he leapt into action, not activating lights and sirens, but driving casually into the neighborhood. Once he got to the location of the first caller, he told the dispatcher he didn't hear anything, and he would continue to the locations of the other callers. At least that's what he said. In fact, GPS and surveillance data showed he never ever visited those other locations because instead he visited Duke's Pizzeria. He spent there for about an hour, according to witnesses and surveillance video. They then saw him move the car and park at another restaurant where he went inside and spent another hour there. He later submitted a report where he made false statements about the extent of his alleged investigation. Now, here's the weird twist. The following day, the bodies of a 32-year-old woman and a 29-year-old man were found in a home just a couple of feet away from the location of the very first 911 caller. The two were shot to death by, wait for it, a New Jersey State Police lieutenant who later killed himself. So we have a police sergeant, yes, from Franklin Township, a police sergeant in a different jurisdiction, in this jurisdiction, getting called to a 911 about an alleged shooting. When they find the victims, the killer was a New Jersey State Police lieutenant.
Whoa.
I know. Yeah, every once in a while you come across those gems. Yes, exactly. And he's like, I need some pizza. Alrighty, now, final choice this morning, Mr. Hunt, official research or visual aid?
Visual aid.
Yeah, neither of these is as much fun as our first two, but here we find ourselves in Kurdistan. Sheikh Ahmed Abrahim is not a candidate for Iraq's parliamentary elections, but his picture is on posters all over the place, instead of his wife, Sammy, who's running for the office. Ibrahim said he's done this to respect the social traditions of the community and family. He says it's just a sign to show her office and her details. There are many posters along the way that bear the name and number of a candidate. We wanted a face on there, but we come from a tribal background, and so I can't put her face up there, so you put my face up there. Voters are rather confused. The fact that they assume that the picture of the person on the sign is who they're going to vote for, but not in this case. Yeah, I know.
The libs tried to do that to my wife. By attaching my tweets to her political campaign.
Just got to put your face in this.
Which is very feminist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, by the way. All right, that's the end of your Tuesday News. Back to you, sir.
Right. All right, we're going to talk with the Common Sense Institute. Coming up, you're listening to Jeff and Bill.
710 KNUS.